It's almost time for the Atlanta Falcons to host the Seattle Seahawks in the second of the two NFC Divisional Round playoff games. This one is Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Certainly not an advantage for the Seahawks having to get up early for their time and then having to play at 10 o'clock a.m. their time. Certainly something that can't help their chances on Sunday, but we'll see how that goes. I'm going to basically break the game down into 6 categories and then predict a winner. Give you a little secret here. Bet you can't guess who I'm going to pick to win, considering the site I represent. The last time these two teams met, the Atlanta Falcons defeated the Seahawks by a score of 30-28, but that was last year in Week 4. A lot of the defense for the Seahawks is not the same now as it was last year, so you can pretty much throw that game out. And for the matchup, for the 6 matchups, the first up is the passing game for both teams. I have to give the edge to the Falcons here. Matt Ryan had basically a franchise best season, 4,700 yards, 32 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. Don't let the 14 picks fool you. 8 of them were in 2 games, but both of those were home games, if that's something for Seattle fans to hang their hat on. And everybody knows about Roddy White and Julio Jones at this point. On the opposite side, you've got Russell Wilson. He's a very capable passer, but he kind of reminds me of Alex Smith right now. Somebody who can manage the game. May not be able to necessarily win it if it comes down to a sling fest, if you will, but certainly one that takes care of the ball and is very accurate with his passes. Next up for the running game. Now, I've gone on record on the Falcoholic and said that I think the running game for the Falcons is the worst in the league because the offensive line really, it doesn't seem to block very well in the running game, and neither of the two Falcons' primary backs seem to want to average more than 3 yards a carry. Again, it's really hard to say whose fault that is, but I'm not going to go into that right now. On the opposite side, you have Marshawn Lynch, who's having a fantastic season, and Russell Wilson, who's also a very capable runner. Lynch has 1,590 yards and averages 5 yards a carry. Stopping him is going to be essential for the Falcons to win the game, and I have to give the edge to the Seahawks here. It's really a no-brainer for that one. For defense, both of these teams are very stingy when it comes to giving up points. The Seahawks are at the top, and the Falcons are 5th in scoring defense. The edge here goes to the Seahawks, but it's not quite as big a gap as you might think. The Seahawks are known for their excellent pass defense, but the Falcons have given up fewer passing touchdowns and grabbed more interceptions despite giving up more than 500 more yards in the air than the Seahawks have. Something I thought was kind of interesting. Despite all the hype the Seahawks get in their secondary, the Falcons have a very capable one as well. In the experience category, the edge has to go to the Falcons. You know, the Seahawks, Russell Wilson's a rookie. Yes, he's going on the road for the 2nd week in a row, but the Falcons' core group has been in place since at least 2010. This is their 3rd year in a row of going to the playoffs, and I think they know what to do this time. I don't know that the Seahawks necessarily are going to know what to do when they go to a hostile environment with a team that's almost completely healthy. And something that is interesting to me in the injury category, rather, I have to give the edge to the Falcons. Falcons are a little banged up. John Abraham has been limited, as has William Moore. I expect both of them to be ready. Both have given good news from what we've heard from the team so far. Marshawn Lynch for the Seahawks was just held out for the 2nd day in a row. You know, that's something that they got to keep an eye on. He hasn't practiced. He didn't practice today or yesterday, and they just lost Chris Clemens, one of their best pass rushers, to an ACL injury. I have to give the edge to the Falcons there. X-Factor category, you have to give that one to the Seahawks, simply because you really don't know what you're going to get out of Russell Wilson. And I don't mean that in the sense that he could have a terrible game necessarily, but he's the one that can run or pass. Matt Ryan is certainly not one of those that can run and pass, although he can move around when he has to. And this, you know, this is his 2nd road playoff game in a row, that being Wilson, and you know, this time he's going to face a quarterback that has 2 functional knees, and he's going to face a defense that is more stingy than the one he faced in Washington. And I think, you know, Wilson could struggle. I think he's not going to, but he could, and I think that's why he's the X factor. A small X factor for the Falcons could be the appearance of their running game. If the Falcons run the ball like they have in years past, I think the Seahawks are going to stand pretty much no chance of winning. I don't expect that to happen because the Seahawks defense is pretty good. For my prediction, I've got to go with the Falcons. You know, I wrote a post on the Falcoholic about how the excuses really have just run out for the Falcons, and I think that the team kind of understands that too. I think the score is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 23-17, and you know, it's going to be a low-scoring game. I don't expect either team to really pull away, but that's why they play the game. You never really know what's going to happen. I think this is going to be a great game, and stay tuned because we're going to have a recap video once the game is over. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, go Falcons!